Just 10 seconds. Alrighty, we are live on YouTube as well. Okay. Thank you so much, all of you, for coming over. Let me just guys, thank you very much. My name is Amit Kaushal. I'm a founder of a law firm called Photon Legal. I'm an engineer and a lawyer, and we have only been focusing on IP in last 15 years, primarily trademark, patents, and copyrights. I was in-house patent counsel in Motorola and Chicago, and moved on and worked in a couple of law firms like Lakshmi Kumar and other firms before I started my own firm, Photon. Photon is currently 2-year-old. But in 2 year in the last 2 years, we have been able to we are privileged to work with companies like Tata's, Bisleri, Mazda Docs, Art of Living, helping them in primarily their IP strategy and IP filing across the world. I would now like to introduce our first speaker, Anubhav Kapoor. Anubhav is actually the brand guy. I mean, he has worked with Domino's, Tata Technologies, Microland, Cummins, and now Ford. So nobody would be able to speak brands more than him today, since he has been exploring a lot of brands, international and domestic. Anubhav, thank you so much. Anubhav is a lawyer, and in his previous life, he was also a chef. So we'll talk about his journey from food to law, and I will also talk a lot more about his experience as the in-house counsels, as the in-house IP legal professional in all these companies. Anubhav, thank you so much for coming over. Looking forward to speaking with you.
Thank you, Amit, for your kind words and introduction. I was very excited with the topic when this was introduced, when we discussed this for the first time. And I think brand as such, the context in which we say the word brand has moved quite a bit in the last 20 or 25 years. Because when we were, say, in the early 80s or early 90s, brand was more restricted to the logos and the print media. But over a period of time, I think the electronic media became important. And then now I think the social media has taken quite a bit of space when we talk about brand. So I think the brand strategies in terms of how we protect the brand and how we kind of promote the brand has also evolved over a period of time as the medias has changed or the way of communication has changed in terms of how we promote the brand, right? So I think today the brand not only stretches beyond a company's logo or colors that we use, product design and general trade presence, but we talk about much more now in terms of retail experience and employee actions and advocacy, product performance and social media listening. I think it has moved from it in my opinion is now the most valuable asset that a company can have, and therefore it needs protection, because not only the brand plays conveys a sense of trust, but it also influences multiple stakeholders beyond consumers. I think the brand influences employees, it influences our vendors, stockholders, government, you name it. And the brand kind of the way the brand kind of positions you in the market. And and it's always like, all this also means that it is equivalent to the money in your bank. So therefore, protecting your brand is about determining your and protecting your future earning potential. uh, with that, I think I would stop here as my opening comments, and then get into the more strategies that we deploy in more evolved markets, and what are the various things that we do to protect this valuable asset in a corporate environment, right? So over to you, Amit.
Thank you so much, Anubhav, for setting the context right. I think that this very well said that brand is not just a company name or your trademarks. It is how you are being perceived in the market by your employees, by your vendor, by your clients. And that really defines how much you're going to be growing with the brand. Therefore, keeping the sanctity of the brand is very important. Thank you so much for that. Over to Jitendra. Jitendra is our second speaker. Jitendra, thank you so much for coming over. He is from MetLife. He's the IP attorney at MetLife and is also a brand strategist at MetLife, which is about 150-year-old company. He also specializes in trademark infringement, legal writing and copyrights, and licensing of IPs and contractual agreements. Uh, Jitendra, your opening comments on the brand which you are currently in.
So, my name is Jitendra, and thank you, Amit, for this opportunity. So, as said by Mr. Anubhav Kapoor, and he rightly said that previously in 80s and 90s, it was all about print media, and then in 80s the domain names came in, the internet came in. So these electronic media started coming. And as he already mentioned that it is not only to the internet in your websites, now the social media has started playing a vital role in creating your brand value between your customers, between your other stakeholders, which includes your employees as well. So there are different strategies which we use, how we can use these social media and how we can protect these social our brands in this social media environment. So it the brand protection and brand strategy is not limited to only websites. It has moved to social media and to even people who are using social media. They should get the right information if we manage our social media well. So it is all about protecting social media, protecting brands in social media, and how to managing our own brands in the social media environment. So
Absolutely.
this is like a change from 90s to 2000, and especially when this COVID situation has arrived, so everything is going online. So even for the consumer goods and everything, people who are not using internet now, they've started they get a habit of using internet. So these brand strategies are these are playing a vital role. Similarly, like a lot of like third party liabilities laws have been introduced in US. Like other brands have also, coming for their own registry to the brands in India as well. They are the online platforms. They are coming with their own brand registry program. So the companies are also taking the responsibilities how to protect the brands for their customers, even for I say customers, for the third part, for the media, the company who are like a selling platform. So the brand owners are their customers as well, because they sell their products in the online environment. So they are also coming up with different strategies so that they should protect their clients IP on their platform. So there is a lot of laws changing, amendments are happening, and US is also doing a lot of efforts, like, and they have introduced these third party intermediary laws and all. So I believe India is also taking part in it, and definitely we will be having some intermediary liabilities laws, and we will be, managing the social media, like our brands in the social media. So that's my starting comments, and then we'll discuss further how we strategize our brands in the social media environment and in the internet environment. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jitin. Thank you very much for your initial comments. Over to Navroz. Navroz is a lawyer and also LLM. He has spent considerable time in Tata Technologies and WNS, and now in his new latest latest assignment in Scient. So, Navroz, uh, you've also worked in domestic international brands. What are your comments on brand overall?
Thank you, Amit. I think what Anubhav and Jitendra said is, is absolutely spot on. And over a period of time, if you see that, all of us have, if you think about it, each one of us is a personal brand in our own right. Right. So when I think about Photon Legal, Amit Koshal is the brand ambassador for Photon Legal. So, every person also becomes a sort of an ambassador with a brand. Uh, think about what Cristiano Ronaldo did to Coke the other day, right?
Exactly.
And Coke lost, and to Anubhav's point, Coke lost a market cap of about $4 billion just because Cristiano picked up those bottles and kept them aside and put them out of the frame. So the entire amount of money that Coke had paid to showcase their brand for the Euro Cup kind of plummeted. So, uh, you know, over a period of time, as you see, we associate ourselves with brands, we associate our choices with brands. And that can be with anything, right from your early morning toothpaste to the car you drive to the company that you're associated with and that you're working with. So or even what you procure softwares for that matter, there will be 10 softwares in the market. You will think about the one that has stability, that has a that is well known in the market. The functionalities of softwares may be the same, functionality of offerings may be the same, but the brand is the one that commands value. And the general trend is to get attracted towards something which gives you the comfort, which gives you the sense of stability, which gives you the sense of security. So, brand is something which kind of associates itself with all these three criterias.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that, Navroz. Taking cue from Navroz's example of Ronaldo, so my question is to Kapoor, Mr. Kapoor. There'll always be people, sir, who will try to tarnish your brand. Or let's say a bad customer review, a bad customer for Domino's, a bad customer in XYZ, or Ronaldo's of the world who know everybody knows that Coke is not good and they just keep the bottle aside. So there'll be always be somebody who would tarnish the brand, who would not sink in with the brand sanctity. My question to you is, how should Coke respond, or somebody like Coke should respond in these situations? You got to unmic yourself, sir.
Sorry. Yeah. So I'll generalize this a bit more, Amit, to your question. But your question in terms of how do we uh, prevent our or protect our brand names from being tarnished in the public space, I think that is where the different strategies play out as we do it, because many times these public spaces are, or these public medias are not something that we control. And as you were speaking, I remembered a very common saying for the internet media, which is basically, once it gets onto the internet, it always remains on the internet. You cannot take it out, right? So with this kind of a scenario, I think the response itself cannot be so straightforward, right? So I think nowadays, as corporates, we are get the intellectual property protection programs are getting far more comprehensive, which is part and parcel of your brand protection programs. And obviously, see, when we talk about brand from a marketing point of view or from a corporate point of view, there are three major elements. First is to protect. Second is to measure the popularity of it, and the last is to promote, right? And any strategy which is related to brand protection has to be a good mix of offensive and defensive strategies, right? Not only the company should take step to register the products, the logos, the taglines, the domain names, which gives you the right, because if you don't protect it, then it is for someone else to just take it away and use it. But if you protect it, it gives you some special rights, which one should use to also go against people who are fraudsters, who misuse your rights and create confusion among the minds of public. But this is not as simple as it sounds, Amit, because the business environment is very complex now, and there are situations where you not only want to know where the leakages are happening or your brand is being tarnished, but you also want to measure and take corrective steps, right? And that is where I think technology and advice from competent partners become extremely important. Uh, Say for example, I was going through a very interesting case study where a oil company, a fuel or a oil company, wanted to was aware that its its fuel is being mixed with some cheaper brands and being sold to the customer. Now, imagine an oil company has thousands of petrol pumps, right? Or I'm just saying petrol or dispensing stations or the distribution points, right? And you really cannot determine what point does the adulteration happens and who does it. And if you have multiple manufacturing facilities from which the supplies happen, then it becomes all the more difficult for the person to trace it. And when it comes to, say, liquids or fluids, then I think tracing and how much of adulteration is happening is also a very complex problem to solve, right? And similarly, I think I can relate to several examples in pharma, and or where, say, for example, in a spirit company, in authentic bottles, the spurious liquid was being put, right? And there is no way you can easily make out from the face of it. So I think that is where the game becomes very, very complex. And right now, I think thankfully, there are technologies like nano markers that can be used within the products and the packings, which are now approved, and it can be traced both in a quantitative and qualitative way by administering simple tests at locations. Also, I think the one of the recommendations we make is also to use multiple, or what we commonly refer as layering strategy. Use multiple security features. Some may be overt, some may be covert, right? Say, for example, you must have seen many companies using color shifting inks or holograms to create the authentication. And also, there are some covert features like invisible ink, which is only visible in a certain light, and banknotes have that feature as well, where in the UV rays you can see certain watermarks or markings which are being imprinted. So these are now being commonly also deployed in tracking products as they move from one point of distribution to the other. And even now, the serialization or the tagging technologies have become far more sophisticated, where the each of the parts are being tagged and serialized, right? So I think that is some of the ways you can protect, say, uh,
Counterfeiting and all of
uh,
that can be protected. Yeah.
products which are in physical form, right? Or which is and knowing those leakages and plugging them can save you millions, right? Because every loss of product is a loss to the company, it's a loss to the reputation, it's a loss to the brand. So I think companies have to be extremely conscious, extremely proactive to to make their processes and distribution and supply chain channels very foolproof. There are also instances where if you are having multiple suppliers, the leakages can happen from the suppliers itself, right? So there are other strategies where we think of how much to outsource and what to in-house manufacture in-house, so that the critical components are not are under your control, and those spurious things, the spurious parts can be controlled. So I think depending on the problem, there are several options that are there available, but it becomes even more complex when you come to intangible media and services. I think services Jitendra will cover in much more detail as he comes from that industry. But on the social media, we constantly promote techniques like social listening, right? It is important to now establish connects, listen to your suppliers, your customers, what is happening in the social media to your consumers, and then analyze and take corrective steps. And this is very effective in case of maybe some of your rogue consumers, or people tend to post bad things more on the internet than the good things, right? So before a incident becomes a crisis, I think the techniques of social listening and reacting preemptively is a good technique to follow on the social media. But obviously, there are multiple channels. It requires consistent scanning and analyzing, where your partners can be of good use, because there are now tools where the tags can be tracked across the social media. That's another very effective way of protecting the brand. The last one, just to touch upon, is advocacy. I think advocacy is forgotten quite a bit, but advocacy both at the government level, at the consumer forum level, with the consumers, because your biggest brand ambassadors are your own employees, your own consumers, people who are using and are associated with your brand, right? So I think with the increasing use of social media, we are increasingly even advocating these programs of advocacy with many of our users, because uh, uh, many times if there is a person or a incident that takes your brand down, then there should also be supporters who remind people of the good things that the brand has done, right? And that also goes very well in terms of how the brand supports the community, how it is supporting the interest of the consumers, and also the health benefits associated, say, with some of the products which are considered unhealthy. Changing the mindsets have become a very important part of brand promotion now, right? So I think if there are different strategies that can be deployed depending on the product, but it does require a very deep understanding of the market and analyzing that how do we protect, how do we measure, and how do we promote our brands, right? And uh, there is no one size fits all kind of solution, but uh, uh, but the comprehensiveness of the programs now are getting much more than they traditionally were, and that's a trend that we are seeing now. And use of technology is becoming extremely common to protect the brands. I think,
Excellent.
yeah, Amit, back to you.
There's a lot we learned through this, Mr. Kapoor. Promote, protect, profit, and promote. As it's a very important concept, and the example which we gave were very helpful. Thank you so much for that. I will take cues from Mr. Kapoor's answer and go to Jitendra. Jitendra, you are working in a services company where there are a lot of people who might be unhappy with insurance outcome. Sometimes they don't get their due on time. Sometimes they don't get it at all. So how do you manage negative reviews first? Second, So Mr. Kapoor mentioned about listening and solving their problems as much as possible. But what do you do apart from that? And second question would be, how do you handle, what do you do in case of trademark infringement? What are your action steps? You got to unmic
Excuse
yourself
me,
there.
Jitendra. Before you start answering, I just wanted to thank Amit, because I'll be logging off at 5 because of another pressing appointment. So sorry for that. But this was a really interesting topic. Over to you, Jitendra. Sorry for the
Sure.
interruption.
Thank you, Anubhav.
Thank you
Thank you
so
for your
much, sir.
time.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you so much.
So,
Nice
as
to have you.
as clearly mentioned by Mr. Kapoor, that social media is a platform where anybody and everybody would come and write whatever they feel like. So this is something like, I'll be pretty generic, not only including insurance sector, but it's almost taking care of the services. So we are like any organization who are offering services, they do not have a product. So we have a different challenges, and one of the challenges is like people commenting using social media for their own wins and fences. Like they don't have to do much effort, and they can copy paste your copyright content, and so it's very easy. So the chances are high, so the cases are number of cases are high, and we can't go for litigation for each and every cases, because that will a lot of cost. So how do we strategize? So we strategize like what kind of infringement happens over the social media. So we categorize those things. For example, there are impersonation happening, unauthorized usage happening. Employees from your own organization is posting something which they are not supposed to post. So these are something which is like even infringement, or even a brand criticism as well. Like sometimes the employees are also sort of not satisfied, and they start commenting something or the other, and you can't chase each and every employees. So first we categorize the social media, like what kind of infringement does it, is it an intellectual property infringement, or it is just they are talking ill about our brands. So the strategy comes as, if it's an ip infringement, so that's a clear strategy. We have a strong case. If someone is doing an impersonation, we will take it further, and we have different mechanism to fight infringements on social media, being any of the social media. So if I name few, like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. So they provide a good platform where we can file our complaints, and they respond well. So if we are able to claim that, okay, this such and such IP is owned by us, and there is an impersonation happening, so number of cases we are able to resolve with them directly, not even getting involved with the third party. So which is like one of the our strategy which we follow. Then there are cases where there are a lot of people coming and posting something. So this is something that we can't stop people, because a lot of things comes under the preview of free speech, and we have to live with it. So we have to live. However, we have to strategize it. How is something that, if it is that much affecting, that much critical, sometimes ignorance is bliss. So if you ignore some posts, it automatically go down. So you don't have to be always proactive in taking action. You have to be on the defensive side. So this depends on a case to case basis. For example, if someone is doing copying my company logo and posting some activities and doing something, doing a click paper business, they write some they post some uh, incorrect or something jazzy characters, and then they use click based business from social media. So if that's the case, we have a strong IP infringement case, so we definitely go for it. The second is something is doing, so this all depend on a case to case basis. However, how we overcome these problems, like there should be some strategy. I'm not saying that it is 100% proof strategy, but there are some strategies which we will be following, and which other organization and similar forums have come up with some strategies. So for example, as Anubhav said, that registering domain names. So we can't register all domain names. There are n number of extensions, but we can't. But we can register those domain names which are actually looks like they are coming from an authentic source. I'll share an example. For example, there is a extension which is called dot feedback. So if I am MetLife, or let's say Ford, so if there is a website which is saying xyz.feedback, people will consider it as an authentic. Let's consider xyz as a brand, and there is a website coming xyz.feedback. So people will consider it, like all the people who are not satisfied with the services, they will go to that website and start posting their comments. And so and lately, today or tomorrow, this will become very famous. So how do you strategize to overcome such situations? So there is somewhere domain name system role comes in. So you have to have a name manager, or a domain name policy, and you have to, review the all the extensions which are very important. So if I talk about more towards the internet and social media part of it, in 2012 there was an extension launched from ICANN, and it was .brand registry. So that is something that I always advise that companies should come up. When I say .brand is something, for example, let's say we again consider XYZ as a brand name. So you can have your websites like career.xyz, which is something an amazing thing to control the internet, so that you will be 100% sure that this is your website and it is an authentic and you can control it. So provide platform to the customers where they can provide feedback, and this is controlled by you. For example, you gave a platform to the customer where they can actually come and share their feedback, share their something has happened to them and they are not satisfied. So if the organization would come up with such a platform, and that become more famous, rather they are going pasting, copy pasting on Facebook or other social media as well, LinkedIn and all. But if if they given a platform where they can come up and share their feedback, that is something that organization should think, that will definitely help the organization to resolve such issues, to be happy customers. And honestly, it will help you to save your brand image, and it will minimize the tarnishment which attacks on your brand. So
Excellent.
these are some strategies, and that all strategies, yes, we define these strategies, but that doesn't mean that we will go by the rule book. There are situations, circumstances where we have to think, and we have to collaborate. Not only the legal, it is the brand is a part of brand and global brand and marketing team as well. So there should be a good collaboration between these teams, so that there is an effective brand management programs, brand awareness programs, brand protection programs. The employees are should be aware how do they use, how do they use social media when they say that they are employee of such an XYZ companies and all. Because they keep on writing, okay, I am from XYZ and I am, so people will perceive, okay, he's talking on behalf of the organization, but that's not the case. So the employee should be given the guidelines how they have to represent the organization, in the who are authorized to represent the organization, and these things should be very clearly mentioned in the policies. And there should be an
Excellent.
awareness programs happening within the organization, within the customers, stakeholders, so that people should be sensible enough to use the brand names in the social media. So these are some strategies which we keep using it, and we keep like changing these strategies depending on the requirement of the case to case basis. So that's all from my side on this.
Very nice, very nice. This is a lot to learn from all those tips. Within, thank you so much for giving it away and honestly sharing all these points with us. Thank you very much. Navroz, Jitendra spoke about employees. Okay, so and here in this platform also we have a lot of employees from a legal fraternity who want to work with certain brand. They want somebody wants to work with, let's say, a big law firm or a big brand like Scient or Ford or MetLife. How does it matter which brand are you working with in the legal fraternity? And how should you choose your brand? I want to work with this brand because of XYZ. I want to work with domestic brand because of XYZ. How should a legal professional, like a person who has just passed out or person who is still working in the legal fraternity, how should they choose their brand?
That's a good question, and honestly, it's a slightly difficult answer because it was subjective it's quite subjective. What my views may be on this may differ completely from your views or from Jitendra's views. So I may be a little old school on this, but when it comes to fresh law graduates coming out of law schools, uh, I would look at them as getting work experience. It doesn't matter whether they're working for brand A or brand B. At the end of the day, when they come up to me for with their resume, I would look at what is the quality of work that they've done. It is not necessary that I may be working with one of the best law firms in the country, but I will get qualitative work, or I may learn something. I may be just kind of picking up files and following a lawyer to the court, a senior counsel to the court and back, but I may not learn anything out of it. I may be just abstracting certain clauses from a due diligence file, and preparing a due diligence report with only a with my opinion on certain clauses. But that is not going to define, or that is not going to help me understand what exactly am I doing, because there's nobody to guide me. However, if I work with a smaller law firm where the work is good, and where they are concentrating on quality rather than quantity, I may get to learn a lot. And when I use a law firm example, I think that the similar analogy is for corporates as well. You start working with a smaller corporate, uh, with a smaller team, you might end up learning a lot more and getting a lot more exposure than than getting it in a big brand. Eventually, everybody wants to get associated with a big brand. So there's no harm in it. And probably a big brand will also pay a lot of money, but are you going to be happy with what you're doing? So from a personal perspective, it is more about getting qualitative work, getting a good level of exposure in the legal field, and using that as a good footing to then get into any of the big brands.
Mhm. It's a superb answer. I think, Navroz, that's point is bang on that you have to work with people and places who are teaching you, where you can learn a lot, and that will help you grow as a person and also in your career. My follow-up question to you would be, Navroz, you worked with brands like Tata Technologies, WNS, and now Scient, and a couple of others. Uh, what are the brand issues these companies generally face, and how do you resolve those issues?
So in probably all the organizations that I've worked, I've kind of also led the IP strategies for some of them. And in terms of working, very rightly what Jitendra said, that you have to work hand in glove with the corporate marketing team to make sure that you have the right brand strategies being developed for the company. Uh, Most of the time what happens is it is all at the spur of the moment, and it all depends upon, okay, I need to we've got an event coming up in some location in some country, and where we are going to launch this brand. But nobody's actually thought about or done their homework of carrying out a FTO search, whether they can actually go ahead and publish that brand in a jurisdiction. Because at the end of the day, brands, as we all know it, are we get territorial protection for each, for your brands. So whichever area or region that you need to uh, launch it, you need to make sure that you carry the right protection. You have made sure that there isn't an existing brand, there isn't an existing company that is using a similar name. And with the and so earlier it was probably easy to do that, but with the advent of social media and everything getting published online, the territorial boundaries are basically merging. all across. So if I publish something in India, it is actually even it's live across the globe. So I'm pretty much publishing it across the globe. But that's where I think the territorial nature of the protection for brands comes into the picture. Take an example. In our city of Pune, we had a very quaint little fast food joint, and which was named Burger King, and it has been there for close to about 30 odd years, and this was prior to actually Burger King even making an entry into India to sell their product. But they had already registered their brand in India, and they had a registered trademark for that. And because of its well-known nature, well-known brand status across the globe, they managed to get a stay against this little eatery, and this eatery had to change their name. But in spite of changing the name, the number of the footfall for the eatery did not reduce, because what was associated with that with that place was the quality of food, or probably just the sentimental value of that being in one of the most the heart of the city. Um, and of course, I've not seen too many Burger Kings open up in Pune either. So though they do have one which is like miles away from this original one that we had. uh, but coming back to the point is that we need to make sure that we have the right, we legal is involved as a important, or is involved to play an important role in studying the market and carrying out a quick search and helping the marketing team to understand whether they can go ahead and launch a brand or not, before the marketing team or a corporate kind of invests a lot of money in the collaterals, in preparing a brand, or investing money in promoting a brand. So at the end of the day, we are talking about something where it all boils down to how you can save costs by uh, preempting a infringement notice, or preempting a passing of action, which will just cost you like thousands of dollars in lawyer fees and settlements, rather than just doing a simple free in-house search.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that's a very important point Navroz has made. It's very important to do some due diligence before you launch a brand, because launching a brand and building a brand will take a lot of time and money. And later on, you do not want to discover that somebody already has it, somebody already owns it. Thank you so much, Navroz. Now, taking cues from Navroz, what Navroz has said. So, Jitendra, Navroz spoke about bullying. Okay, the big boy bullying the younger kids. Okay, so here the Burger King US bullied the Burger King India. We also have bullying cases in which a Big Basket sent legal notices to Daily Basket. Now, Daily Basket is a different brand. Big Basket is a different brand, but still, this matter became very, very famous on social media. Big Basket sent legal notices to Daily Basket, which is a relatively smaller player. So, what about trademark bullying? Or how do we avoid big boys bullying the younger ones?
So this is something, Amit, like I understand what Navroz said, the example of Burger King and all. So here I would say that courts see it in a different way. So this is not, for example, we can't, as I said, that for every case there is a different strategy. So, and it depends on the circumstances of the case. Similarly, when it comes to a trademark infringement or a passing of suits, so they have been looked at a very specifically to the circumstances was exactly happening. So it is not that okay which has registered a trademark, because there are passing of suits as well. Like, so in India also, if the prior user, even if it doesn't have a registered trademark, he is a user. So courts will see it in a different way. So when it comes to trademark infringement, it is considered like, for example, how the bigger company, or let's say even a smaller or mid-sized company, how it will be affected if there is a similar brand in the market. So are there a confusion which is taking the big brand customers? So it is all about creating a confusion in the mind of the consuming public. So the law is clearly defined here. If it is creating a minute confusion, then it is called an infringement, and the court will move in favor of the party. So this is something that we have to actually look into the deep dive, that what exactly is happening. So no matter like it's a big brand or a small brand, court will not consider it is like a, so why are we saying it is a big brand? Because they have been doing businesses for so long. But for example, you file a trademark registration, you will be objected no matter you are a big or a small brand. If they're an existing trademark, your trademark will attract a section 11 objections. Similarly, court will see this, that okay, how this, if this brand exists, will it actually taking the big customers of a big brand? Are they getting confused? If they are getting confused, then it is an infringement. Then it is not about sending. So we have a right claim, and when we have a right claim, we have a right to it. So even a minute or a second confusion coming to the mind of a consuming public, that there is an sort of association affiliation, then the case is something that the court has to look on it. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so that is something that is depend on a case to case basis. And even the litigation lawyers, they actually what they present to the court is they try to prove that this is actually creating a confusion.
Confusion.
So I'll share a example. For example, I'll share an insurance example. For example, you are starting from your home, and let's say I lives in Delhi and there is an insurance company in Noida. So I starting from Delhi, that okay, I will go and buy a insurance from an XYZ company. And I'm talking about not any internet or anything. It is just there, when I started from my home, there were all were board signs, okay, XYZ insurance company is 15 kilometer away from here, and I'm reading those signs and I'm going. So after traveling around 40-45 kilometers, I reached out to Noida, where I was expecting there is an XYZ insurance company situated. But when I reached there, I realized they're not an XYZ but an ABC insurance company, right? What I did is that, because I have traveled so far and I was already in the mood of buying an insurance policy, and then I see okay, ABC is also fine. So I go and buy an insurance in policy from an ABC company. Now see, the ABC company never said that they have any association with XYZ. They never said that they are better than XYZ. Nothing. But still the confusion came in.
But in
Eh,
today's world, nobody goes to insurance company. The insurance company comes to you,
So
right? they,
so
they knock your door all the
so
time.
this is a sort of example of creating confusion, and
Right.
that is infringement. So
Okay.
court will definitely get into so deep to understand, is it really creating an confusion? If it all creating a confusion, so it just created confusion for a second,
Mhm.
but it is a confusion, and altogether the XYZ company loses the business. Similarly, in any case, if there is a so, and this is like a debatable topic, and like the lawyers have their own arguments, but I'm trying to make a point, how do courts look for these trademark cases, and how do even lawyers look and they present their cases. So, and these are all derived from trademark laws and trademark acts definitions, what is an amounts to an infringement.
Absolutely.
So this is
Absolutely.
something that what I feel, that if there is something like, if it's say bullying, that is something that we have to look in another way. The law in-house counsel and the law firms, they have to work in a collaborative way. so that they have. So what happens sometimes that the in-house counsel and the law firms, they have a gap on presenting the cases, so their collaboration should be very well, so that because in-house counsel is the counsel who is working from the scratch. He's the first person who sent a legal notice or a cease and desist notice, so he knows everything. He was the person who was on call with the infringers. So now, when he is representing his case to the litigation law firms, so there should be very good collaboration, so that a law firm, a litigation lawyer, can present his case in the court based on the information provided by the in-house counsel. So this collaboration is very important. So
Absolutely,
so
absolutely.
then we can stop the trademark bullying as well.
Excellent, wonderful. So collaboration between in-house counsel and law firm is very important,
Exactly.
and they should have the right intention. I mean, just because you have some extra power and extra muscle doesn't mean you're going to bully the younger one. That's a superb. Right intention is very important. Whatever we do, it's a very important point. And thank you so much for that. Coming to you, Navroz, uh, since you are an expert of contracts and negotiation and closing the contracts, you are the guy for closing the deals. What clauses do you have pertaining to brands which you make sure that must be a part of the contract so that your brand sanctity is preserved?
So mostly if you look at the contracts that the industry deals with is more from service point of view. So uh, apart from having work made for hire clauses, and where the deliverables are actually owned by the customer, the only place where we see where a brand can be protected or can be permitted for use is under the publicity clause. So as a service provider, I would certainly always look at highlighting some of my customers uh, as being associated with my brand. So I will try and make sure that I have a clause that says I'm permitted to use your name or your logo, your brand as a part of my collaterals, as a part of my marketing collaterals. 90% of the times I've seen customers say that they do not have a problem, but they need to ensure that their permission is sought and a written consent is sought. So and similarly, the other way around as well. So um, we see a lot of these days how marketing has also evolved, where you see it having transitioned to social media platforms or electronic marketing. So I get, for example, if I'm one of your clients, and you get a testimonial from me, and to use my testimonial as a part of your website or as a part of any of your marketing collateral, you need to use my company's brand name as well. In that case, what will you do? You will have to kind of come to me for my explicit permission, which is generally not withheld without reason. So you can always add clauses that say that you will provide me with your written consent, uh, unless you have a absolutely justifiable answer for me to not use your brand. So those are the kind of safeguards that you can always build into your contracts.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that, Navroz. Coming back to you, Jitendra. Jitendra, what's your view on the trademark watch? How do you watch, like the web watch, trademark watch? How do you watch that other people who are filing trademarks similar to MetLife, they are being stopped or opposed? How do you do it? And how defensive or offensive are you about this? You got to unmute yourself.
S- Okay, so trademark watch is a very specific, like specific services, and it is a part of our strategy how we are reacting on the result based on trademark watch services and all. So I will answer this question to be in a generic way, because uh, the strategy which we follow, it is not a strategy which we follow always. So as I worked with different other clients in the previous organization, so there was different strategies which we used for trademark watch and all. But yes, there are very good vendors which do trademark search, and they watch services. And once we have a trademark watch results for trademarks and even for the domain names and even for the social media, so this is not only limited to trademarks. So it is the watch services is for domain names and even the infringement happening on social media. So if I talk about how do we strategize, we monitor all these three services. Like we monitor trademarks, we monitor domain names, and we monitor social media. And this is something like a monthly activity which is being done. And based on the search results, we go for actions and all. And then there is an review between the in-house counsels, and then it goes to litigation firms based on the jurisdiction and all. So this is like similar services,
Sure.
similar strategies has been used, I believe, with almost all the organizations who have a good budget for IP protection services, because budget is actually a constraint for organization which do not have a big trademark portfolio, and these search services are quite expensive. When your portfolio for the domain names goes for around 1000, 2000, 3000, so you actually need a good brand protection, online brand protection services and all. So
Absolutely.
this is something that it depends on the organization level. What kind of portfolio are you managing? How much? For example, there is a trademark infringement happening in Pakistan, and we don't do business over there, and we don't have any plans for doing business, so we our strategy would be different. But for example, if there is something happening in India, and we are already working in India, the way strategies are different. So
Absolutely.
it's depend. But yes, we do monitor trademarks, and not only my current organization, when I was with others as well. So there are like that's an important part of brand strategy and brand protection services. Without trademark watch and without trademark search, because they both are related, you can't even think of launching your brand. It will cost you hell. And I can't, being an in-house counsel, I cannot search a trademark for an entire globe, because there will a lot of translation differences. And even if you hire law firm, there are chances that you miss some trademarks. And then I'm not doubting on the capabilities of in-house and the law firm. There has been instances and cases where uh, despite of following all these strategies, despite of doing all the jurisdiction trademark searches, there has been miss. And this happened not because of someone has missed anything. This is something that there are a lot of things that you can't even define in your search. So even if you do a lot of search, there can be, I can share examples. Sometimes even in the design codes of a device mark, you put something, and the owner has the already the similar mark which is existing. They have a different something written over in their trademark description. So there are chances that you miss that thing, and especially this comes for devices, the logos.
Great.
So
So
word mark, yeah.
there's one question from a attendee. Neha. She's asking that, do you have a tool for trademark watch in India? I can suggest a tool you can use. Markify. Neha. Markify is a great tool for trademark watch and trademark searches. Uh, and Jitendra, would you recommend some other tool to Neha?
So this is something, Neha. Thank you for asking this question first. This is something like it. The trademark search should be done, or trademark watch should be done jurisdiction basis. So if you are doing specific to India, first of all, get into the Indian Patent Trademark Office site. They have a very good site.
She's talking about a watch, trademark watch.
So for watch, there are different vendors available. So it is very hard for me to name a vendor, but yes, if
But
you
she's
do
asking for a tool. She's asking for a tool. So, like a software tool. If Neha, you can use Markify as a good tool. You can do a lot of stuff yourself on Markify. Markfy.
So
Markify.
Amit, this is something that I cannot name.
I
So
can. I'm a free man.
so Neha, I'm so sorry that I cannot give you because that will be like a brand recommendation, and I should not do it. But yes, Amit can definitely help you with those names.
Yeah. All right. Great. So one last question to Navroz. Navroz, very important point Jitendra made. Jitendra said we don't want to work in Pakistan or we will ever work in Pakistan. A lot of companies who don't want to work in certain countries. How? So let's say now MetLife has chosen not to work in Pakistan or XYZ country. Suppose the company comes up in Pakistan and the company calls itself MetLife. Of course, that will pinch Jitendra and that will pinch a lot of other employees in MetLife. Now, Rose, what do you suggest what to do in these cases? You don't want to work there, but there's a guy using your brand there. What do you do? You don't want to
So,
go there.
so I'm sure you must be aware. I mean, everybody is aware of the Pulsar and Gulsar case, right?
Exactly.
Uh, right. Did Bajaj actually take any action in China? Would they have been successful in challenging the
Challenging.
Gulsar brand name? It's it at the end of the day, they're talking about how if tomorrow I have somebody who comes up in a country where which is there's a remote possibility of me doing business out there. Um, Even if I do, and if there's a customer that does come up, I'm sure the customer will certainly look at the credibility of the person using the brand out there vis-a-vis the brand that is already established globally. That's one. The second way of kind of handling this, and of course, sending out a cease and desist notice is always a good deterrent in terms of informing the other person. Listen, buddy, that even if I'm not registered in your country, I'm famous. I'm quite famous in the services that I'm providing, and moreover, if you look at my website. I can use my domain name as one of my primary tools of trying to ensure that they adhere to changing the brand name. We've had cases in some of the organizations in the past where, and these are absolutely genuine cases, right? There was somebody who's existing in the consulting space and who's using their initials as their trade name now, and they've been there in the industry for a long time, and they probably might be providing consulting services in the same industry that we are talking about. But can I go and shut down a mom and pop shop that has been there for 30 years in a small territory, a small locality where they have established themselves? I will probably lose, and that's not something that is not worth the battle, because I know that my market is something which is beyond a certain dollar value threshold. So as long as that market does not get affected, I think we are good.
Excellent. Uh, Great conversations with both of you. Guys, if you have any closing remarks, you can do it now. But I really had great conversations. Thank you so much. Over to you for any closing remarks.
So I think just I had just one remark, and I think that's probably got to do with ties in with what Jitendra said earlier. Is uh, as in-house counsel, you need to have the right partner in place as an external consultant who can advise you on an IP strategy. Mm, the way that the way that I've been seeing things change is rather than having dealing with multiple lawyers across multiple jurisdictions, I I feel that the way things are taking a turn for the good is having to deal with one person, one firm, and let them work with their network of lawyers. It not only becomes cost effective, but it is also it's also efficient from the perspective of getting an opinion that the local council would charge in some would charge for in some other jurisdiction through your territory council in through whom you're dealing with. So because they've dealt with such matters on a regular basis, so you tend to develop a good brand strategy when you kind of channelize all your strategy through a single firm, through a single or rather, let me put it this way, through a single strategist who will help you rather than having it mixed with multiple strategists.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you, Navroz, on that. Jitendra, any closing remarks?
So I would agree to Navroz's comments that a single strategist advice is much more effective. Even it is much more cost effective, because when you see a long term, you will end up with high cost if you go on a multiple things. So I would 100% agree. My only last comments would be like monitoring your brand in the offline and an online environment is a regular process, and it has to be done on a monthly basis and regularly. You can't skip and you can't wait for a case come to you, because in an online environment the infringement's happening every day. So now you have to monitor it, you have to strategize how you have to respond to these infringements. So that would be my
Absolutely.
closing comments. Thank you,
Yes.
Amit, and thank you, Navroz, and thank you,
Thank
Photon.
you. Thank you. Thank you, Jitendra. Thank you, Navroz. It was a great session. You guys were great givers. You did not shy away from giving away what you know. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you coming over and sharing your views on us with us. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Amit.
Thank guys. Take care of
Thank
yourselves.
you,
Bye bye.
Thanks,
Navroz.
Jitendra.
Thank you.
Bye.